Very few South Africans reach the end of their working career with enough money saved for their retirement. In order to assist people saving for their retirement, the National Treasury has implemented the new two-pot system. In this video, I will explain what the new two-pot system is, why it was implemented, and give examples as to what will happen if you withdraw from your savings pot versus continuing to let it grow as it is. I will also show you an example where it makes sense to withdraw, because this is not the most easy concept to understand, and because we are thrown with information in the media that might be misleading to what is best for you and your future self. This is probably one of the most important videos that you will ever watch, so that you can make a more informed financial decision after understanding how the new pot system functions and how it will impact you. Okay, so how does the system work? Your future retirement contributions will be allocated to two pots. One is the savings pot and the other the retirement pot. On the 1st of September 2024, your existing retirement savings, which the industry calls the vested pot, will automatically allocate 10% of the total amount contributed and grown to date to your savings pot, but this is capped at a limit of 30,000. This is a once-off event that will not happen every year. The current rules will still apply to your vested pot, which is the amount you have saved up until this point in time. This means that the vested pot will still have the existing rights of access and taxed at the current withdrawal tax tables if you resign and cash out your retirement fund, which is less than the income tax tables. And if you preserve your retirement fund and access a portion at retirement, then the first 550,000 Rand will be tax-free. This is according to the retirement tax tables. This makes quite a big difference on the tax that you will pay. Going forward, 1/3 of your retirement contributions will go towards your savings pot, and 2/3 of your contributions will go towards your retirement pot. At retirement, your savings pot is now designed to be the cash lump sum paid to you. But now it also acts as an emergency savings, where you can withdraw any amount, but only once per tax year at a minimum of 2,000 Rand. The tax year runs from the 1st of March to the 28th of February every year. But the tricks to this is that the amount will be taxed at your marginal tax rate based on the income tax sliding scale, which means you'll pay more tax than withdrawing after retirement. There are transaction fees, which are about 2% of your pre-tax amount, capped at 600 Rand. And also, any amount withdrawn from your savings pot before retirement will reduce your lump sum at retirement, which I will explain further soon. The 2/3 allocated to your retirement pot will not allow to be accessed until retirement, which is age 55 in South Africa. And at retirement, you'll have to use it to buy a pension or annuity, and will not be able to take a portion from this pot as a cash lump sum, as the lump sum will be from what you saved in your savings pot. The aim of this is to provide you with an income during your retirement. Reasons as to why the system was implemented. This system is meant to support long-term retirement savings while offering flexibility to help fund members in financial distress. On the old system, people were able to withdraw 100% of their retirement savings when resigning from an employer and moving to the next. Oftentimes, this money was not allocated back into the new employer's retirement fund, but used as discretionary spending, drastically decreasing the amount that would be available to that person at retirement. Now, if they leave an employer, then they cannot access the retirement pot portion, only the savings pot once per tax year. So it was implemented as a way to force people to save for retirement in South Africa. And I believe this is a good thing, as many people are not financially educated enough to understand the drastic effect withdrawing from your retirement fund has on your future returns due to compounding. Reason number 2 is for the government to raise an additional 5 billion Rand in estimated taxes, purely from South Africans withdrawing from their savings pot in this tax year. But they won't admit to the second reason. Researchers from the Reserve Bank have estimated this additional tax benefit to SARS to be closer to 41 billion Rand, as many individuals are expected to withdraw from their savings pot as soon as the new system is implemented. Also, early withdrawals will put more cash into consumers' hands. This will increase consumer spending, and the government will collect billions of rands more in VAT on sales. Remember, you are the government's income. Reason number 3 is the companies that are set to benefit from these retirement changes are not who you will expect. The increased withdrawals will likely lead to increased consumer spending, which will boost South Africa's economic activity, resulting in a much larger GDP. Surveys suggest that South Africans are likely going to withdraw the money to pay off high interest rate debt, and that a large portion will simply be used for general consumption on discretionary items. The increased cost of living has led to a pent-up demand for clothes, furniture, and appliances, leading to domestic retailers receiving the largest benefit. And by giving people access to long-term savings, the government is effectively implementing a form of stimulus into the economy. The biggest question everybody is asking is, should I withdraw from my savings pot? Now, I can't tell you what to do with your money, but I can give you a few examples so you can see how different decisions affect your retirement savings. Starting with our first example, let's assume this person is 30 years old, earns 700,000 Rand per year, and wants to retire at age 65. In scenario 1, this person decides to withdraw the maximum amount of 30,000 Rand from his savings pot and decides to use it to buy the top-of-the-range brand new iPhone. Because of his annual salary of 700,000 Rand per year, he falls in the 39% marginal tax bracket, and therefore the amount withdrawn from his savings pot will be taxed at 39%. So 11,700 Rand will have to be paid in taxes, and left with only 18,300 Rand in his bank account of the 30,000 Rand withdrawn. So he actually didn't have enough money to buy the new iPhone cash. In scenario 2, this person decides it's smarter to save the 30,000 Rand. He has an emergency fund saved up, and there is no need to withdraw from his savings pot for discretionary spending after understanding the pitfalls from watching this video. Now let's assume that his investments will grow by 7% over the 35-year period. This 30,000 Rand in his savings pot will grow into 345,000 Rand. By just leaving it there and not contributing anymore. Therefore, no tax will be paid at age 65 when he withdraws the 345,000 Rand. Now let's say, for example, that the 30,000 Rand grows by 9% annually. This 30,000 Rand will grow into 691,000 Rand at retirement age. If he takes the full amount in cash, then the first 550,000 will be tax-free, and the remaining will be taxed at 18% as seen in the lump sum benefit withdrawal tax table. And he will pay roughly 25,000 Rand in taxes, leaving him with an amount of 666,000 Rand after taxes. This equates to an effective tax rate of 3.67%, which is drastically less than the 39% effective tax rate in scenario 1. And it just goes to show the effect of taking the savings pot in cash today if you're in a high marginal tax bracket. But what happens if you withdraw a small portion from your savings pot each year? What will be the consequences in the long term? Let's say in scenario 3, an intern joined the company at age 20 and earns a salary of 122,000 Rand. Let's just assume in this scenario that his salary grows by 3% every year. The investment return is 11% and the contribution rate is 11%. Let's say that as at 1st of September 2024, he has accumulated 85,000 Rand, which now forms his vested pot. From here onwards, he resigns and changes jobs every 7 years. Now remember, this is based on the old rules, so he is allowed to access all his retirement savings from that employer after resignation. And every time he resigns, he withdraws from his vested pot. This will leave him with 2.7 million Rand at retirement. Now, if you take the new two-pot system's rules into account, you will only be allowed to withdraw from the savings pot, which will leave him with 14.8 million Rand at retirement. And if he preserves his savings, he will have 19 million Rand at retirement. Now you can see the difference that the two-pot system will make, where it protects ourselves from ourselves, forcing us to leave at least 2/3 in the retirement pot. Now the question is there any scenario where it makes sense to withdraw from your savings pot? In this scenario, it makes sense to withdraw from your savings pot. Now I don't mean to pay for debt or any other consumption purposes. I mean to withdraw your money and grow it in a strategic way. Now please remember, this is not financial advice. I am merely providing you with a theoretic scenario, and in general would not advocate for this method. The first thing to know is what your current income tax rate is and where you sit on the tax sliding scale. And the second thing is how much you want to withdraw and what the tax implication will be. And then the next concept to understand is that the growth that happens within the retirement product is tax-free. But although the growth is tax-free, the product itself is not a tax-free investment. It is actually a tax-deferred product, because when you withdraw from these funds at retirement, you will be taxed on the amount withdrawn. The other concept is Regulation 28, which can limit the growth that occurs in these products. This law creates parameters of how much you can invest in different asset classes. So more than 45% of your retirement savings cannot be sent offshore, as the government deems this to be too risky, which unfortunately means that our investment is not growing in dollar terms. So this scenario is based on withdrawing from your savings pot, taking the tax hit, and putting it into investments which you can control and grow outside of Regulation 28. So using our original example, let's say he wants to withdraw 30,000 Rand from his savings pot. After tax, he is left with 18,300 Rand from the amount withdrawn from his savings pot. Let's now assume that this is invested at an 11% net annual return, which is after fees and taxes and is a higher return than in our previous examples. In 5 years' time, he will have 31,600 Rand, which means he would have gained back the tax he paid. But at age 65, this will now be worth 845,000 Rand. To summarize, just because you can withdraw from your savings pot every year does not mean you have to. If you withdraw from your savings pot, you may not have enough cash for your needs when you retire. You will be taxed at your marginal tax rate, which means you'll be paying the highest rate of tax, and you may not have a big enough retirement savings portfolio for when you retire, especially if you withdraw from it before letting compounding work its magic, as you are destroying the tax-free compounded growth. The purpose of a retirement fund is to save for retirement. It is not a piggy bank for when times get tough. Remember, it is important to save for emergencies in a separate emergency fund and not rely on your retirement saving. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.